Hello students, welcome to Easy Science YouTube channel. So today we are discussing about sexual reproduction in flowering plants. This is part 2. Already in part 1 I explained about male gametophyte, that is androecium, anthus. I have explained in the part 1 class, and today's class we will discuss about the gynoecium, the female reproductive part of the flower. So before going to the class, please subscribe to Easy Science YouTube channel and click the bell icon. You will never miss an update from my channel. So let's move to the class today. See students, if you are the concept is, if you know the concept very well, and if any type of questions can be asked in the exam, you can answer all the questions. So the first thing is you should be aware of your concept, what concept is there in the lesson, and please be thorough with the concept. Now, and if you are thorough with the concept, if the questions are like assertion reason questions, match the following, or MCQs, any question you can answer very easily, right? So you should concentrate on the concept. What is the concept in the lesson and what type of questions can be asked? If you are very much thorough with the concept, like whatever question may be asked, you can answer those questions, right? So let's discuss the sexual reproduction in plants, and this is part 2, right? Right. So in part 2 we are discussing about gynoecium. Gynoecium is it is the female reproductive part of the flower. Gynoecium is considered as the female reproductive part of the flower, right? It's female reproductive part of the flower. Gynoecium is considered as the female reproductive part of the flower. So generally the gynoecium consists of single pistil. Most of the flowering plants, the gynoecium contains single pistil. So such flowering plants we called it as monocarpellary. As they contain single pistil, we considered them as like monocarpellary. So the examples of monocarpellary are avocado, and in most of the legumes the gynoecium has only single pistil. And if the gynoecium consists of more than one pistil, then we call it as multicarpellary, and the example is hibiscus, right? And here I have given syncarpus and apocarpus pistils. See, in case of multicarpellary, more than one pistil is present, right? So if the pistils are attached, all the pistils, multicarpellary means more than one pistil is present, and if all the carpels are attached, then we call that gynoecium as syncarpus. The carpels are attached. The carpels are attached. And apocarpus pistil means the multicarpellary, the carpels which are present are not attached. The carpels are not attached, and such plants we called it as, such gynoecium we called it as apocarpus pistil. So generally the gynoecium consists of single pistil. If single pistil is there, we called it as monocarpellary, and the examples are avocado and in most of the leguminous plants. And if the gynoecium consists of more than one pistil, we called it as multicarpellary, and multicarpellary is divided into syncarpus and apocarpus pistil. See, what do you mean by syncarpus and apocarpus? If the carpels, multicarpellary means more than one carpel is present, right? So if the carpels are attached, then we called it as syncarpus, and if the carpels are not attached, free from each other, then we call it as apocarpus pistil, right? So this is the diagrammatic representation, and this is the pistil of hibiscus. Generally hibiscus has 5 carpels, multicarpellary, right? So they are attached. See, if you observe, they are attached, right? And this is syncarpus. Because syncarpus, the multicarpels are attached, and this is option, like example B is Papaver somniferum, papaver, where the multicarpels are attached. So it is called syncarpus ovary, and this is Michelia, or an example 3 is Michelia, where the carpels are free, they are not attached to each other, and this is known as apocarpus. Because the carpels are not attached. So we have multicarpellary is divided into two types. One is syncarpus and the second one is apocarpus. Syncarpus means the carpels are attached at one point, and in case of apocarpus, the carpels are not attached at one point. So these are the examples, right? So let's discuss about pistil. So either one pistil is there or multi carpels are there. Each pistil contains three parts. One is stigma, other one is style, and ovary. The three parts of the pistil, the main parts of the pistil, or the three parts of the pistil are stigma, style, ovary. The stigma serves as so what is the function of each and every part we'll discuss. Stigma is like landing platform for pollen grains. See, we already discussed in part 1 that pollen grains shed off, right, from the anther and falls on the, before they lose their viability. So we discussed about viability also, like fertilizing the egg cell and results in the formation of zygote. Before they lost their viability, they have to fall on the stigma for germination. So this stigma, it serves as a landing platform for pollen grains. Pollen grains falls on the stigma. So the next part of the stigma is style. It's an elongated slender part. Style is an elongated slender part and which is present beneath the stigma, and the last part, the basal part, which is bulged, is known as ovary. So these are the three parts of the pistil: stigma, style, ovary. Stigma serves as a landing platform for pollen grains, and next to the stigma we have a style, and it's an elongated slender part, and finally the basal bulged part, like bulging part, known as ovary. So this is the most important part of the pistil, that is ovary. So inside the ovary we have a cavity. The flowering plants have a cavity called ovarian cavity, and which we also called as locule. So inside the ovarian cavity, the placenta is present. The placenta is located inside the ovarian cavity, right? Each placenta, see what is present inside the ovarian cavity. Ovary is the basal part of the pistil, right? Ovary is considered as the basal part of the pistil where placenta is present. So from the placenta, the megasporangia arises, which is commonly called as ovules. Placenta give rise to ovules. We call it as megasporangia. Generally, one ovule, like in some of the flowering plants, only one ovule is present, and in some of the plants, flowering plants, more than one ovule is present. So one ovule examples are wheat, paddy, and mango. Many ovules examples are papaya, watermelon, and orchids, right? So let's move to the structure of the ovule, right? Pistil we completed. So the three parts of the pistil are stigma, style, and ovary. Ovary contains a cavity called ovarian cavity in which placenta is present. So placenta give rise to ovules. If in some of the flowering plants only one ovule is present, it is called, examples are where one ovule is present inside the placenta. The examples are paddy, wheat, and mango. And where the placenta give rise to many ovules, examples are papaya, watermelon, and orchids, right? Let's move to the structure of the ovule. Ovule, we all know that it arises from the placenta, right? So ovule is a very small structure. which is attached to the placenta. See, it arises from placenta, but it will not get separated from the placenta. It attaches to the placenta by means of a stalk called funicle. See how the baby is attached to the mother by the umbilical cord, right? In placental mammals, the baby is attached to the mother by umbilical cord. In the same way, the ovules arises from the placenta, but they are not fully separated from the placenta. They attach it to the placenta like by means of a stalk called funicle. That means in case of the flowering plants, the funicle is comparable to the umbilical cord of placental mammals. Umbilical cord of placental mammals, right? So the body of the funicle, see, funicle is a small sac through which the placenta and ovule are attached, right? Now the body of the funicle fuses with the ovule in a region called, completely it fuses with the ovule, like this funicle is completely fuses with the ovule at a region called hilum, right? See, so at hilum, it represents the junction between the funicle and the ovule, because at hilum we consider both are combined. So that's why hilum represents the junction between the ovule and the funicle. And the ovule is surrounded by a protective envelope, like how we saw, like in like microsporangium, it is covered by, like pollen grains are surrounded by two layers, like outer layer and inner layer, exine and intine, we observed, right? In the same way, the ovule also surrounded by a protective envelope. Maybe one or two is present, and that protective layer we called it as integument. If two layers, like outer integument and inner integument, two layers are there, we call it as integuments. Maybe one or two present surrounding the ovule, right? Even in microsporangium also, like pollen grains, we observe that the outer layer is known as exine and it's made up of sporopollenin. We discussed that in the previous class, part 1, right? And germ pore area will be present where the sporopollenin is absent, right? Ovule is surrounded by a protective envelope called integument, right? And even this integument also, throughout the ovule this integument is present, except at the tip of the ovule integument is not present, where at the tip where this integument is absent, a small opening is present, which we called it as micropyle. And opposite to the micropyle, opposite end of the micropyle, we called it as chalaza, right? So what this integument comprises of, this protective layer around the ovule comprises of a group of cells. We called it as, this group of cells together we called it as nucellus, right? Like even in the microsporangium, it's a tissue where contains a group of cells. In the same way, this integument contains a group of cells called nucellus. So what is the function of the nucellus? Means it has an abundant reserve of food material which supplied to the growing embryo sac or female gametophyte. So right, nucellus contains embryo sac or female gametophyte. How it forms means, see, I said group of cells are present inside the nucellus, right? So in this group of cells, a differentiation takes place. One of the cell get converted into megaspore mother cell. In this group of cells, one cell get converted into megaspore mother cells. This phenomena of conversion, we called it as cell differentiation, right? So this megaspore mother cell divide and give rise to megaspores, and the process of formation of megaspores from megaspore mother cell is known as megasporogenesis, right? So ovules generally, so which cell get differentiated into megaspore mother cell means the cell which is present in the near to the micropolar region of the nucellus. I said nucellus is a group of cells, right? It's a group of cells. Which cell get differentiated into megaspore mother cells means the cell which is present very close to the micropolar end get converted into megaspore mother cells, right? And the megaspore mother cell is a large cell. When compared to the remaining cell, it is little bigger and it has dense cytoplasm and a prominent nucleus is present. You know, this is diploid, right? Flowering plants are diploid in nature. So this megaspore mother cell, because we know that the gametes are haploid in condition. So what happens to this megaspore mother cell? Divides and give rise to 4 daughter cells, which we called it as megaspores. Even in case of the pollen grains also, we discussed that the sporangium, the cells of the sporangium, the microspore mother cells divide by meiosis and get converted into 4 microspores. That we called it as tetrad, right? Before maturity of the anther, the tetrad is connected. After the maturity, they get separated. Due to the dehiscence of the anther, they released, right? The same thing happens here. The megaspore mother cell is diploid in condition. By meiosis, it gives rise to 4 daughter megaspores. There, in case of the male gametophyte, like we discussed that the tetrad gets separated and released and fall on the stigma, right, germinates. But in the case of the 4 megaspore mother cells, the 3 cells will degenerate. Only 1 megaspores will become functional. 4 daughter cells are formed from 1 megaspore mother cell. Only 1 megaspore mother cell will be present that divides by meiosis and give rise to 4 megaspores. But in that, the 3 will degenerate. Only 1 will become functional. So the functional megaspore will be develops into embryo sac, or we also called it as female gametophyte. We also called it as female gametophyte, right? So even 4 spores are forming, but the embryo sac or the female gametophyte is forming only by 1 megaspore. So this process or this phenomena of development of embryo sac from single megaspore is termed as monosporic development. So the ploidy, whether they are diploid or haploid, nucellus, which is diploid in condition. So one of the cells of the nucellus which is present very close to the micropolar end will convert it into megaspore mother cells, which is also diploid. This divide by mitosis and give rise to 4 megaspores. As it divides by meiosis, then the cells are haploid and embryo sac is also haploid. So this is the ploidy of nucellus, megaspore mother cell, megaspores and embryo sac. Only 1 megaspore mother cell will be formed that divides by mitosis and it gives rise to 4 daughter megaspores, but 3 will degenerate. Only 1 functional megaspore will be there, get converted into embryo sac or female gametophyte. And this phenomena of development of embryo sac from single megaspore is termed as monosporic development, right? So this is the diagrammatic representation. Hilum, what is hilum? So at which the funicle, hilum is the place the funicle and the ovule are combined with each other, right? Micropyle, see, if you can observe there is an opening at micropyle where this integument is not there. So here 2 integuments, outer integument and inner integuments are there. So the group of cells we called it as nucellus. One get converted into megaspore mother cells and converted into embryo sac. Opposite to the micropylar, the end is called chalagel pole. So this is the structure of the ovule. And funicle means what? A stalk-like structure through which the ovule get attached to the placenta. See, we all know that the ovule is formed from placenta, but completely it is not get detached from the placenta. A small portion of the ovule is attached to the placenta by funicle. That's why funicle is considered as the umbilical cord of the flowering plants. right? So this is megasporogenesis. I said nucelless group of cells are present and one will be differentiated into megaspore mother cells. See, this is very large. Remaining cells you observe and this cell you observe very large, and a prominent nucleus is present, and this divide directly it will not give rise to two daughter cells. Initially two daughter cells are formed. See, this is two dyad, two cell stage, two cells are present, and again they divided and give rise to 4 megaspores, and in this 3 will degenerate and 1 will become functional. One will become functional megaspore, right? This is known as megasporogenesis. The process of formation of megaspores from megaspore mother cells is termed as megasporogenesis, right? Next, the nucleus and functional megaspores divides mitotically and forms. See, now we have this megaspore tetrad is formed, right? And functional megaspore will be only one which contains a nucleus. See, if you observe, all the 4 cells have nucleus. The functional megaspore nucleus will divides mitotically and forms 2 nuclei which moves to the opposite poles, which forming the 2 nucleate embryo. That means if this is the functional megaspore mother cell where the nucleus divides into 2, so and they moves to the opposite poles. One is towards the micropolar and the second one is towards the Chalazal end. So this stage we called it as 2 nucleate. It is called 2 nucleate embryo. Again 2 more divisions occur and this divides give rise to 2 daughter cells, and again this divides give rise to 2 daughter cells. Totally 4 formed. Again these 2 will divide and give rise to 4 daughter cells, and these 2 will divide and give rise to 4 daughter cells. Totally 8 nuclei are there, or 8 cells or 8 nucleus are there. This is known as 8 nucleate embryo sac. At this stage we called it as 8 nucleate embryo sac, right? Mitotic divisions are free nuclear. That means after the formation of the nucleus, cell wall will never be formed. Only after the formation of 8 cells the formation of cell wall takes place. See, after 8 nucleate stage only the cell walls are laid down, leading to the organization of typical structure of the embryo sac, right? Now see, totally 8 nuclei are present, right? 6 out of the 8 nuclei are surrounded by cell walls and organized into cells. Total 8 nuclei. Out of 8, around 6 cell wall is formed and organized into cells. Remaining 2 nuclei we called it as polar nuclei. They will be situated below the egg apparatus in the large central cell, right? So, the characteristic distribution of the cells in the embryo sac. See, 8 nuclei are formed means 8 cells are there, isn't it? 8 nuclei are there means 8 cells are formed. So, initial which I have shown, 2 cell stage moves to the opposite poles. Again they divides give rise to 4 cells, and finally 8 daughter cells are formed. So after the formation of the 8 daughter cells, distribution of cells will be takes place inside the embryo sac. Now let's discuss about the distribution of the cells. 3 cells will move towards the micropylar end, in which the 2 cells are known as synergids. See, these 2 cells are known as synergids and the middle one is known as egg cell. Total 8 nucleus are there means 8 cells will be there, right? So in this 8 cell, 3 cells will move to the micropylar end. In that 3 cells, like 2 are known as synergids and 1 cell is known as egg cell. Remaining 3 will move towards the Chalazal end. See, opposite to the micropylar end we call it as Chalazal end, and these 3 cells we called it as antipodals, right? So 6 over. antipodals. Remaining two cells will combine to form a large central cell which contains the two nuclei. That means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Embryo sac is 8 nucleated, but it is 7-celled stage. It is 7-celled stage because two cells combine and form a large central cell which contains the two nucleus. Only one cell contains the two nucleus, and these two nucleus we called it as polar nuclei. These two nuclei we called it as polar nuclei. So this is the development of the 8 nucleus. Generally, most of the flowering plants, the embryo sac is 7-celled and 8 nucleated stage. The cells which are present at the micropylar end are known as synergids. Two are considered as synergids and one is called egg cell. Right, and opposite to the micropylar end we have chalazal end. The three cells present in the chalazal end are called as antipodals. Remaining two cells combine and form a large central cell. Only one cell wall is formed between the two nuclei, and that is called large central cell, and the two nucleus which is present inside the central cell we termed it as polar nuclei. Right, so see this one. This is the chalazal end where antipodals are present. So the synergids, and this is egg cell. Two cells are known as synergids and this is egg cell. The large central cell which contains the two polar nuclei. Right. Right, see, the three cells group together to form egg apparatus which contains two synergids and one egg cell. Special cellular thickenings for synergids. The synergids, what is the significance of this synergids means they have filiform apparatus which helps in guiding the pollen tube into the synergids. See, observe this. Synergids have filiform apparatus. So what is the function of this filiform apparatus means it helps the pollen tube to guide into the egg cell. Right. So synergids, the three cells at the chalazal end called antipodals, and between the around the two cells only one cell wall is formed, that is called large central cell which has two polar nuclei. The embryo sac is 7-celled and 8 nucleate. 3 cells near the micropylar end, 3 cells near the chalazal end. Middle 2 cells we called it as a single large central cell which contains two nuclei. The two nuclei we called it as polar nuclei. So this is about the female gametophyte. The androecium, the female reproductive part of the flower, where it contains the pistil. Pistil contains stigma, style and ovary. We have discussed about the ovary. See, ovary contains ovarian cavity in which placenta is present. Ovule is formed from the placenta, but the ovule completely cannot be dissociated with the placenta. It gets attached. Some portion of it gets attached to the, which one? It gets attached to the placenta by a stalk. Right. So that's about the female gametophyte. Right. Funicle. Funicle is comparable to the umbilical cord. Umbilical cord of placental mammals, because with the funicle the ovule is attached to the placenta. Right. So this is about the structure of the female reproductive part of the flower. So I hope you all like the video. Please like, share, subscribe Easy Science YouTube channel. In part 3 we discuss about pollination and double fertilization. Right. So tomorrow we'll discuss about part 3. I hope you all like the video.